the concerns that I have are slowly being fixed.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That's kind of the frame of mind. So here's the frame of mind that I come from. I don't need, Nicholas Singleton and Kaytron Allen don't need to prove anything to me. If they have a bad day, they have a bad day. If the offensive line, same thing. People are a little more skeptical of the offensive line, I think, because in the past, Penn State fans have been hurt by lackluster offensive line play, or it just hasn't been good for the most part, because that takes time to build. You need the depth. You need the talent. Phil Trautwein has done an incredible job. But because of what I saw against Oregon, Boise State, SMU, Notre Dame in that playoff stretch, and that entire group is back, that same group that gave that production, that is why I have belief in the offensive line that they'll figure out communication issues. It's not a talent issue. It's simple mistakes that they can actually fix. You can't really build talent. It takes, they say you get better in the off season. From a talent standpoint, that's what you do to refine your skill. Yes, you can get better over the course of the season by doing the reps and everything else, but you don't have time in the middle of the season to do that, because it can win or it can lose you football games if you don't handle that. So that's where I come from, that frame of mind of, okay, well, the offensive line doesn't concern me, or Allen and Singleton did not have 200 yards apiece, because I've seen what they can do when they're at their best. And they honestly, sometimes they are still at their best even on bad days. They're still really good. The position groups like defensive line, defensive tackle, which I harped on and said, I don't know if they have the depth to be a national. I'm confident they're a national championship team, but this group could be the reason they don't win or they don't go deep. My opinion is starting. That's the thing. Now defensive tackle is starting to be the least of my worries. For example, to see Ty Blanding just push people around, other Division I college football players, just push them back into the quarterback. Enai White, who has played defensive end his whole career, is finding a home at defensive tackle. Deion Barnes is one of the best, if not, he is starting to, I think it's because he hasn't been in college football enough that we can't do this, but he very well might be the best defensive line coach in college football. The proof is in the production to go from Abdul Carter, who was a linebacker, never played defensive end, to a top 3 NFL draft pick. And then Chaz Coleman, who has not played a lot of defensive end, period, is an 18-year-old true freshman, did not enroll early, and is going to be a key rotational playmaker, maybe a co-starter down the stretch of the season alongside Zariah Fisher, who we just don't know if is 100%. Denai Dennis Sutton is playing at an All-American level to a point where FIU is triple teaming him. Zane Durant, a former 3-star, is probably going to be, I'd say, because, NFL draft projections are complicated, I see him as a first-round talent. He'll probably end up being a second-round talent. Problems with his height or concerns about his height, something like that. I'm not sure. Again, I don't speak with NFL scouts routinely enough to know what their overall opinion is of Durant. So that might be an issue. Well, you said he was a first-round talent, and he ended up going in round 3. Again, I'm not concerned about his height. Some scouts who get paid millions of dollars might be. Okay, so I have a little more credence with my opinion, or I have a little more flexibility with my opinion. I don't have to be perfectly spot on with that draft projection. Bottom line, though, is that Deion Barnes is a darn good defensive line coach. And it's not just good, he's great. He's elite. How many people did I just rattle off? It's not just Abdul Carter. It's Carter, it's Chop Robinson, it's Zane Durant, it's Denai Dennis Sutton, and now you're seeing everybody progress. You're seeing everybody get better. Ty Blanding is better. Alonzo Ford transferred in from Old Dominion and has been consistent when he's healthy. Ty Blanding has gotten better. Enai White moves to defensive tackle and is giving you at least better production. I didn't know if he would play this year. I didn't know if he'd be able to crack the rotation at defensive end. And then when they moved into defensive tackle, I said, that's probably a year-long plan. They're just going to scrap this eventually, essentially redshirt him and move him to defensive tackle and hope that he is a 2 deep next year. And he's playing. And he's playing and he's giving you solid production. He's giving you better than what most of us would have expected. So when I look at defensive tackle, defensive end, Chaz Coleman is trending in the right direction. All those defensive tackles that I named are trending in the right direction. My concerns about what could truly, because Kaytron Allen and Nicholas Singleton aren't going to hold Penn State back from a national title run. The offensive line's not going to hold Penn State back from a national title run. Those questionable liabilities could. At one point in time, we were talking about safety. Safety could have been a liability. It's just Zach Wheatley. Antoine Belgrave Shorter becomes a starter. Dejon Lane rotates in a ton. King Mack is rotating in a ton. A safety group that had one player that you knew you were going to get significant results from, but you didn't know what you had in ABS. How is King Mack going to do after a down year at Alabama? Dejon Lane, questionable when it comes to tackling. Is he going to have a sophomore slump or a sophomore breakout season? Kenny Wosley emerges. That's where, again, the depth. Linebacker, jury's still out. I would say that group continues to kind of cycle down because, okay, I like what you have in Amari Campbell, not Anthony Specca, Tony Rojas, Amari Campbell, as I mentioned, at that transfer spot, and Dom DeLuca. It's because Jim Knowles has said, I don't trust anybody else at this point. Anthony Specca is good, but I don't trust anybody after those first 3. So that's where you need to look. Are the groups that we identified as potential liabilities, are they trending forwards or backwards? Today's episode is brought to you by Upside. Hey, Penn State fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Well, stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code FOOTBALL. That is code FOOTBALL, and you'll get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, hey, I thought this was too good to be true, but it is totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or any gift card for Amazon and other brands. So don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code FOOTBALL. That is code FOOTBALL for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. Promo code FOOTBALL. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. And this live show is also brought to you by FanDuel. NFL season is here. It is back, and FanDuel is making sure you are ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you will get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That is right. For everything, NFL, college football, if you want to bet on Penn State, well, they haven't been covering, but you can use it on every sport that is available on FanDuel. FanDuel makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your favorite team or you're just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, it's easy, it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays, and I'd include your Saturdays in there as well. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. And remember, new customers, when you place your first $5 bet, if it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. That is over at FanDuel.com and the FanDuel app. Defensive end. Chaz Coleman is trending forward. I still need to see more from Jalen Harvey, Malachi Williams, and Yvonne Kamaju falls into that category as well. Deny Dennis Sutton if he is not available, if he were to get hurt, or if Zariah Fisher cannot come back and be 100%. That's going to be concerning. And Chaz Coleman is not enough. You need somebody else. You need Kamaju, you need Harvey, you need Malachi Williams, you need somebody. I would not rule out the possibility of Deshaun Burnett or I just had his name. Another true freshman, Daniel Jennings. Daniel Jennings, I could see another true freshman defensive end because it's not final. They could be a role player or a practice squad player one day. Again, Chaz Coleman, is now becoming somewhat of a co-starter alongside Zariah Fisher until he's back to 110%. He'll be that third defensive end after Dennis Sutton and Zariah Fisher when they are both healthy. But Jennings, Burnett, they're yellow lights, and we're just not seeing a lot of them right now until they prove it in practice. And if they do, then the defensive end room gets that much better. Hey, it worked for Coleman. I'm not going to rule it out so there's no final judgment. There is no final decision made just because we haven't seen a player or two. Oh, that means they're redshirting. They're never going to get in. No, we don't know that because they could emerge in the final weeks. And they play all 4 games, and their red shirts burned. And now they're an integral part of the offense or the defense going into the postseason. So it's a good thing that postseason games don't count against your red shirt. So Penn State very well might redshirt a lot of these true freshmen, and then they play a bunch if they trust them in those postseason games. Big Ten championship, college football playoff, obviously. Okay, so I didn't get back into the comments. I had a lot to talk about there with my thoughts on being critical of groups that I trust and being skeptical of groups that I don't trust, but I'm seeing evidence to lead me to believe that, I should be more confident in these position groups. Think we should just keep the offensive game plan simple next week and just make sure the team is on the same page. If these issues continue to the next game, I'd be really worried. And it's not going to be more of the same from a game plan standpoint. It is going to be more of the same. You are not going to empty the cabinet for Villanova, especially right before Oregon. You are going to save a lot of stuff. Penn State has done this in the past where they are going to have they'll show a couple of wrinkles again to put it on film, but they are truly not going to show bread and butter type of plays that they know will work. I think back to when Penn State destroyed Michigan. Was that 2017? Probably 2017. I was a student. I was a student at that game. Penn State ended up winning 42-10. Maybe it was 42-13 off the top of my head. And for most of the season, Penn State, kept a pretty good read option RPO situation with Trace McSorley, Saquon Barkley. And then they just roll out this wrinkle where Saquon slides over to quarterback and takes the direct snap. Michigan had no idea what to do. Those are the things that you should expect. They could run 3 running back setups, diamond formations, full house, fullback type of situations. We've seen some of it. We saw the running back wildcat where Singleton and Allen were out of shotgun, Aller split out wide, and we already saw that. We were anticipating that. But what if you factor Cam Wallace into that, or you put 3 tight ends out there, and then you have that backfield, and Drew Allar's off to the sideline, or even comes out for the play? I don't know, but they can do that, and I'm expecting it at some point where Kotelnicki is just, here's 4 tight ends. And Singleton and Allen are QB1 and QB2, RB1 and RB2. Stop it. The possibilities are endless. So they're going to show some of that, but they're not going to use all of it. I agree that Drew misses gimme passes, and I'm so tired of the first half body language with him. I agree with that. I do think that Allar was supposed to be this new confident player a season ago, and there still is an element of he's uncertain with himself at points in times. You could frame that a different way in that maybe he's just overly critical of himself. Offensive line thinks that Drew Allar apparently is Mr. No Nonsense. If you haven't watched that, it was the CBS special with for most of the offensive line, the 7 offensive linemen that Penn State's primarily going to use this season. Cooper Cousins is scared of Drew, and I mean that lightly. I mean that in a joking way, but there was one instance where they described him. They said, Allar let you have it one time for a mistake in the USC game. And he's like, I never thought I'd be yelled at by Drew like that. So Allar, I think Allar just expresses his frustration in not the best way. It does show uncertainty. It shows a lack of confidence. And your quarterback has to be an assassin. Nothing phases them. Good, bad, or indifferent, nothing phases them. And I think at times Allar is a little too emotional in the wrong direction. Okay, I don't know that there's a right direction there. You can get over emotional in the right direction, so to speak, and it can lead to bad things.